Hey everyone, this video is about C47, an open source RPN-based programmable scientific calculator that runs on the SwissMicros DM42 hardware platform. And it's an evolution of WP34S, an earlier community-based project that ran on the HP 20B and 30B business calculators. And I've described WP34S in the past as an Uber calculator because it's just packed with functionality, and C47 has a similar goal to create the most advanced RPN calculator available, but it's now not so constrained by the hardware it's running on, with the DM42 having a considerably larger display and also an extra row of keys and more memory than the 30B. And this has allowed the team to pack even more functionality in. And some notable new features are improved support for complex number operations and fractions, a full-screen matrix editor, graphing and new statistics functionality, user-definable keys and menus, and also support for higher precision floating point and integer calculations. C47 also supports loading and saving its state, which is very useful. And the C47 project has an interesting history. It started as a fork of WP43, Walter Bonin and Paul Dell's original attempt at a calculator for the DM42 platform. Because WP43 put the arithmetic operations on the left of the keypad, it meant a hybrid key layout that required stickers on the keys of the DM42 rather than just this keyboard overlay. And so Jaakko Mostert forked the code base to work on an alternative key layout, which he called C43, where the C stands for classic. And later the project was renamed C47 because of the changes that broke compatibility with WP43. In parallel, the WP43 team were in negotiations with SwissMicros to bring out a hardware version of WP43, and there was a pilot run of hardware devices that some people have. But the negotiations with SwissMicros fell through, and many of the core developers of WP43, including Paul Dell, moved over to the C47 project. And C47 is fairly stable now. The keyboard layout is frozen and the functionality is robust enough for daily use. And I'm using the sticker version of the overlay kindly sent to me by Paul Dell, although I haven't removed it from its base since I don't want to make a permanent change to my DM42. And the user interface on C47 is really innovative. Where WP43S displayed just the X and Y registers, C47 displays a 4-level stack. And where WP43S supported 3 shift keys, a yellow, blue, and green, C47 just has a single yellow shift key. And this is because it was designed to work with the primary DM42 key functions. And so to access the blue functions, you need to tap the yellow shift twice. And the menu system has also changed. So on the WP43S, menus took up a single line, and you would use the cursor keys to toggle through the items. Whereas the menus on the C47 can actually display 18 menu items at a time, at the same time as the registers on the stack, which is reminiscent of the new RPL environment for the HP 50G, which I've got a separate video on. And these menu items are accessed via these soft keys in conjunction with the yellow shift key, which toggles which row of the menu to that's being accessed. So by default, the soft keys access the bottom row, but we can change the selection to the middle row by pressing the yellow shift key. And menu items that are in reverse are actually sub-menus. And so C47 actually keeps a stack of menus that you can back out of using the exit key. And so C47 menu system allows access to over 700 functions, but of course it does take a while to get used to this new menu navigation scheme. So of course C47 is an RPN calculator, and it supports either a 4 or 8 level stack, and it can be configured to support either original RPN like HP's earlier calculators, also called entry RPN or EPN, which would be familiar to users of HP's RPL calculators. Currently I'm in ERPN mode. When I key in a number and hit enter, it only appears in the X register. And to enter alpha strings, we hit shift and the alpha key, and we can see this alpha menu appears. Now if we hit the keys, we'll get the letter which is written to the right of that key on the keyboard. In alpha mode, there's a bunch of submenus for Greek symbols and various other symbols. To exit out of alpha mode, we simply hit the exit key. And C47 supports a bunch of different data types, so reals, integers, fractions, complex numbers, angles, times, and dates, and it's very flexible around how these are used. And we'll just do a quick tour of these basic data types without going into too much detail. So let's start with integers, and C47 supports long integers up to 1,000 digits. So for example, we can calculate 400 factorial by picking the factorial function from the catalog. And so that's around 850 digits, and we can view some of these by hitting the show key. It takes a little while to bring up. As well as long integer arithmetic, we also have a base menu, and here we can see a lot of the features you'd expect on a programmer's calculator, such as the HP16C plus more. So the top row allows for configuration of word size, the middle menu row has logical bitwise operations, and the bottom row allows for switching bases. So let's switch to hex, and we can enter a hex number and then switch that to decimal. And C47 supports arbitrary bases and BCD or binary coded decimal, so there's some really unique functionality here. And fractions on C47 work in a similar way to the HP32S2, but again there are enhancements on top of this. So we can enter a fraction like 5 3/4 by typing 5.3.4. And if we do arithmetic on that, the result is shown as a proper fraction. We can convert that value back to decimal using the .d key and back to a fraction using a over b over c. And C47 has a unique option where stored real numbers can be displayed either as factors or fractions of irrational numbers such as pi and the square root of 2. So we can turn that on in the display menu with the irrational fraction option. So let's select that now. And so now, for example, if we take the square root of 2, it will display that, and we can take the 1 over x to get the square root of 2 divided by 2. And so this is quite a unique feature, as far as I know, for a non-CAS calculator. And like the HP32S2, C47 allows us to view fractional approximations of real numbers and also control the maximum size of the denominator. And complex numbers work in a similar way to the HP42S, but again, C47 adds some significant enhancements that improve the usability. So to create a complex number in rectangular format, we can enter the real and imaginary parts on the stack and hit the complex button. So let's enter 5 plus 10i by entering those components and then hitting the complex button. and we can do arithmetic, of course. And if we bring up the complex menu, we can see there's a number of common operations you might want to perform on those complex numbers. And we can also, of course, enter complex numbers using polar coordinates. And so here we'll talk about C47 support for angles. So if we bring up the trig menu, we can see that C47 supports specifying angles in a number of formats. So there's degrees, radians, gradients, degrees, minutes and seconds, and even multiples of pi radians, which is handy. So let's enter 45 degrees as 0.25 pi radians. So we enter 0.25 and then hit this button. And notice here that we're not changing a global setting, we're just tagging this particular angle value. And we can use that to create a complex number in polar form by adding an amplitude component. So let's use 5 as our amplitude and hit the complex button. And notice now we've got a mix of complex numbers in rectangular and polar formats on the stack. So this method of tagging values is really convenient enhancement to the functionality from the HP42S, where you would either need to be in rectangular mode or polar mode, and all complex numbers are shown in that format. C47's matrix feature will also be familiar to HP42S users, but again C47 enhances these, most notably by providing a full screen matrix editor. So to create a matrix, let's bring up the matrix menu, and like with the 42S, we enter our dimensions on the stack and hit new, and we'll be able to see the matrix displayed on the stack. So let's create a 2x2 matrix. And we can hit the edit button to edit the matrix in full screen mode. And we can use the arrows to navigate. And then use the exit key to return to the stack. And C47 can handle complex matrices, solve systems of linear equations, and calculate eigenvalues and eigenvectors. And it also supports really large matrices. For example, you can do arithmetic of 20 by 20 matrices. And C47 has a bunch of useful features around equations, statistics, and modelling. And again, these features will be familiar to users of HP's RPN calculators, but C47 adds a level of functionality above what you may be used to. Most notably, it supports simple data plotting. And again, in the interest of time, I'm just going to do a whirlwind tour of some of these features. So the equation menu on C47 allows you to store algebraic equations and then solve interactively for any variable, plot that equation, or perform numerical integration or differentiation. So here I've already entered my favourite full distance equation. The distance an object falls under gravity in a time. And it's entered in the form of an expression that C47 will find roots for. So let's hit solve now. And we can say find the number of seconds the object takes to fall 100 meters by entering 100 into y and then solving for x. And this will take a little bit of time. I think I've set the significant digits to 5. Yeah, so x is around 4.5 seconds. And we can also plot the formula. So the way I found this easiest to do is to write the equation, or the expression, sorry, in this format without the y variable. And then we can just hit graph and draw xy. And again, this takes a little bit of time, so I'll skip to when it's finished. So as you can see, C47 has this interesting graphing format where it displays the chart on the right and still supports two soft menus on the left, as well as information about the axes. And the equation solver on C47 supports a large set of trigonometric and other numerical functions. It can also solve for complex roots. There are functions to calculate first and second order numeric derivatives and do numeric integration. And you can also do similar functions for a result of a program using the advanced menu. So you can solve for any root, complex roots, and find numerical derivatives and integrals. C47 also supports a wide range of statistics and distribution functions. So let's bring up the probability menu and select distributions. And we can see here that it supports all the ones from the HP21S plus even more. So there's normal, binomial, Poisson, gamma, students T, F distribution, geometric distribution, exponential distribution, even logistics, generalized extreme value, and Weibull distributions. And C47 also has powerful modeling functionality as well. So this is available from the plot menu, and we can select regression and model. And I've already entered a bunch of data points with the sigma plus key. So currently we've got a parabolic model set, and so let's hit assess. And you can see that C47's tried to match a parabola to the data. We can use this zoom soft key to change the zoom box. Keystroke programming on the C47 will be familiar to those used to the HP42S or 41C. We can hit the program key to go into programming mode, and here we can record, view and debug programs. And like the 42S, there's a global program space with programs that start with labels and end with an end statement. And C47 comes with a bunch of example programs like this one to generate a spiral. So there are extra routines to plot points on the screen. And to execute a program, we can exit out to run mode, then hit the execute key and pick our program from the catalog. And C47 is the most customizable calculator I know of. It supports user mode, which is similar in concept to user mode on the 41C. And you can assign an item, either a digit, character, symbol, variable, or function to almost any location on the keyboard, unshifted or shifted. So you can totally customize the function of the keyboard and potentially support that with different keyboard overlays. It's also possible to assign an item to any menu. So for example, there's a special menu called My Menu, which is displayed when no other menu is on screen. So here we've got a mixture of items pre-assigned, but say I wanted to change one, we can hit the assign key. And now we can pull up an item from the catalog, so either a function, a constant, a character, a program, a variable, or a menu. So let's pick a function. And then we can exit out to My Menu and assign it. And there are other customizations permitted. We can create new menus and also configure the keyboard behavior within alpha input mode. And if you customize your C47, you may be interested in saving its state and retrieving it later, like on the DM42. And these functions are available via the I/O menu. So here we can save our state into a file and then share that with another person or back it up off device. So this has been a long video, and even so, there's been a huge amount of functionality I haven't covered, such as conversion menu and financial functions. And to me, C47 is a true Uber RPN calculator in the sense that it contains the superset of the functionality from calculators like the 42S, the 32S2, the 21S and the 17B2, and even the 16C. And it adds a lot of innovation on top of these into a highly customizable software experience built on the solid DM42 hardware platform. And I think for current users of DM42, it really provides a lot of enhanced functionality that's not available in the stock DM42 experience that they might find beneficial. And I think for users of WP34S, C47 provides much enhanced experience, mainly through all the ways it takes advantage of the improved hardware platform. And like with WP34S, of course, the downside of C47 is its complexity and its steep learning curve. And although there is a collection of documentation available, you may need to hunt across several resources to find what you need. But I found the support from the development team has been really great, and thanks goes out to them for patiently answering some of my questions. And I should mention they also have made some great videos that go into more depth than this one on particular features. And I love these community-driven projects that have long been part of the calculator ecosystem. And credit should also go to SwissMicros, who have gone out of their way to support alternative firmwares for their devices. And I will be reviewing the DM42 in my next video. And I'm also keen to review DB48X, another alternative environment for the DM42 targeting RPL users. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to get alerted of new videos.